Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Dental Marketing 201 webinar. Presenting today, we'll have Newell Ledbetter with Newell Ledbetter Advertising Incorporated and Art Ruiz with ReachLocal. Mike Paxton with Q2 Interactive, unfortunately, will not be joining us this evening, but Art will definitely cover all of his material. Real quick, just to review, the chat window on the upper right side of your screen, please enter your questions into that, and we'll try to address your questions throughout the presentation. And if we do not address them, then we'll contact you individually to give you that information. So, brief bio about Newell Ledbetter Advertising. He's the founder and owner and president of Newell Ledbetter Advertising Incorporated. Began his advertising agency in 1996 after 18 years in television, radio, and cable advertising sales. Since then, Newell has built a successful agency that services over 70 clients, both locally and nationally. Newell holds a BFA in broadcasting and film and works tirelessly to ensure our clients' success. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Newell Ledbetter, and he's going to go ahead and talk to you about targeting your demographic and the Dental Marketing 201.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it. We appreciate all you joining us as far as our webinar this afternoon or this evening. I would like to kind of do a little review as far as what we covered at our last webinar. And of course, you can always get in touch with us as far as getting a link to that webinar so you can have an opportunity to take a look at the entire webinar at your leisure. First of all, what we were basically looking at in the first Dental Marketing 101 is how we target your demographic and why your demographic is who they are. Who are we actually going for? We also talked a little bit about reach and frequency, the number of people that we reach, the percentage of our target audience, and the number of times we actually reach that target audience. We want to take a look at some media buys and, of course, tracking new patients. In reviewing Dental Marketing 101, what we were basically talking about was the significance of the sales funnel in relevance of TV, radio, and internet. If we take a look at the awareness funnel or the sales funnel, again, what we're looking at is a change as far as buying habits are concerned with the American public. 20-some years ago, back when I was first in broadcast advertising, there was a direct one-to-one ratio as far as if you ran a commercial, you got a phone call or someone came into your store. And that happened both with television and radio, newspaper, direct mail, anything that had to do with awareness campaign, you were able to get a one-to-one ratio. Well, as time went on, and we figured this out, or found this out basically about 5 or 6 years ago, there was a different way as far as the research was going on now. You know, what we were receiving or actually figuring out was we weren't getting that one-to-one ratio as far as the awareness is concerned. We still got those direct phone calls, but we weren't getting them like we were before. And why that was happening was people were falling into the research area. Before, that research area had to do with basically they would call up and say, hey, Art, do you know anything about Dr. Brown? Have you had any work done with Dr. Brown? Or Jane, have you seen Dr. Jones? Have you got any information as far as Dr. Jones? Or they had, you know, in some cases you had consumer reports, you know, when you were actually buying a widget. However, that's as far as that research actually went, and then the phone call would actually happen. So people would drop into that yellow pages, and that's as much as research we had. Well, here when the websites came on board and the internet came on board, it basically gave us an opportunity to make another sale, give people an opportunity to see more about a particular business as well as a particular service that might be being offered. So we had to build a goal for our awareness campaigns. That is the biggest thing as far as when you get your name out there. The goal for building awareness is basically, let's see how many people we can reach, how many times we can reach them with spending the least amount of money as possible. That has always been our goal as far as working with our local business people. In particular, as far as our dentists that we work with nationwide. Media rankings, what we discovered last time in the Marketing 101 was that we needed to reach females. And the 3 mediums that were the largest as far as percentage of reaching females on a daily basis was television, which would be able to reach about 88% of all females. We're talking around the country now, and of course in the individual markets. The internet would reach 68% of them. Notice they see it falls into that research situation. And radio would reach 58% of all females as far as on a daily basis. And we also figured out we're going to have to figure out the right awareness campaign to do in a particular market, you know, whether it be television, radio, or radio in the internet, television and the internet. It's always going to work out around as far as the internet. So that's what we were discussing in Marketing 101. In 201, we've got a few more things we want to discuss. First of all, we want to target the demographic. And why do we have a female demographic? Research has shown us, okay, and this has been happening over a period of years, but women make 85% of all financial decisions. And women bring in more than half of the household income in 55% of U.S. households. Women also make 80% of household health care decisions. And those are the ones we're interested in, are the ladies that are making those health care decisions. Women also control 4 checkbooks. You know, she has her money now. She has your money and your parents' money and her parents' money. She's the chief household spending officer, and she also controls the company's checkbook. So we are dealing with someone that really has a lot of money to work with as far as purchasing services. Let's take a look at reach and frequency. In definition, reach is the percentage of your target audience. We want to reach the largest percentage of your target audience as we possibly can, of course spending the least amount of money as we possibly can. The frequency is the number of times your target audience will see or hear your advertisement. Years and years ago, now I'm talking back in the mid-70s, and I'm dating myself here, but at that time they said that you had to reach your audience 3 times in order for them to make a move, you know, react, you know, either come into your store or make a phone call to your business. At that time, you didn't have everything that was going on as far as all the different mediums are concerned. So 3 times was about right. Now that number of times that you reach your target audience and see or hear your advertisement needs to be somewhere around 8 to 9 times. Now that's over a period of time. You can do that all in 1 week. You can do that all in 1 month. You can do all of them in 1 year. The more times you reach them, the largest percentage you reach them, the faster your business grows. It's just a sheer numbers game is all it is, sheer numbers. We just have to reach a lot of people and let them know what you do and if they'd like to do business with you. One of the things that we were looking for, frozen up here for a second. Here we go. We want to take a look at a dental TV media buy, and we're going to take a look at the reach and frequency. This is an actual buy that we put together for a client, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it'll give you an idea. They've got a particular market that's pretty easy to reach as far as the demographic is concerned and how many times we can reach them, and again, with the amount of money that we're spending. In fact, many people wish that they had a market that was like this. As an example, if we took a particular budget, and we're going to use a budget of around $2,000 in this particular market, and we were going to buy television advertising, the way we buy it, of course, we're going after the target demographic of women 35 to 64, and you can see that buying demographic up in the left-hand corner. It says client dental media buy TV first quarter 2012, buying demo women 35 to 64. And this is an exposure analysis. So after we put all the buy together and spend the money, this basically tells us how everything works out as far as the formulas that we use. If we go down a little bit further below that buying demo of women 35 to 64, we can see that what it has is, I'm not going to get into GRPs and average ratings, that's a little bit more complicated, but the maximum reach that we can receive for this demographic of women 35 to 64 in this market is 88%. So that's the largest we're going to be able to reach, the largest percentage of women we're going to be able to reach in the market just using television. And the demo, as far as the universe, is you're looking 28.7. That's 28,700 women in that particular demographic. If we go to the right of what we're talking about as far as buying the demo, Women 35 to 64, you'll see the number of units we bought. This is over a 3-month period of time. We bought 90 units. We were able to reach 86% of our target audience. Remember, we go back over here as far as the maximum reach was 88%. So we're almost at max reach at that time. And the average frequency is 5.6 times. And the gross impressions is 138,300 over this period of 3 months. And you can see down below the number of people that are going to see that commercial one time is going to be 86%. The number of people that are going to see that 20 times is going to be 2%. So somewhere in that 8 to 9 times, you're going to see 22 to 18%, or 18 to 22% of our target demographic that we're going to be able to reach. Now let's take a look at the dental radio buy in the same market. Radio is a little bit different way of buying it, and as far as television is concerned, because it's a frequency medium, and you'll be able to see that. It's not a reach medium like television is. In other words, we can't reach as many people using radio as we can with television. But radio is a very integral part as far as a marketing campaign as far as gaining awareness. If we take a look at this particular buy in this particular market, same market as we did as far as the television is concerned, you can see that maximum reach in CUME is 35%. So the most we can reach in the market using radio is 35% of the 28,700 ladies 35 to 64. If you go over to the side here, you see the number of units. Well, basically we bought 216 units, 216 60-second commercials in this particular market. Remember, we only bought 90 commercials as far as in the television side of the market. We are reaching 34% of that target demo, and maximum reach is 35%. So we're also almost at maximum reach. The average frequency is 13.6 times over that 3-month period of time. So you can see, and we're spending about the same amount of money on radio as we are on television, right around that $2,000 figure. You can see that the gross impressions were running 134,000 as far as radio is concerned. But we don't have the maximum reach that we have as far as television is concerned. So what happens if we combine both of these? So let's take a look at combining the television buy we put together and the radio buy that we put together. If we go over here and we go down to where our maximum reach is, our maximum reach in putting television and radio together in this particular market is 92%. That varies per market, depending on the size of the market and what the penetration is of the market as far as how many people are watching television and also listening to the radio. The number of units goes up to 306. The reach, the maximum reach is 92%. So you can see that we've reached our maximum reach as far as the budgets we have allocated for this particular buy. And the average frequency is 10.3 times over that 3-month period of time. So we've got the frequency up, we've got the reach up, and when we combine the two together, when you're reaching 92% of those 28,000 ladies, and that's just that particular demographic as far as 35 to 64, you're reaching a lot of folks. You're reaching ladies that basically, you're looking at 92%, you're somewhere right around 24,000, 25,000 ladies that you're reaching, of which 30% of those ladies can't name a dentist. So your market is like 7,500 ladies that are particularly, that can't name a dentist in that demographic or in that market. So you've got a huge market to actually work with when you combine radio and television in this particular market. There's some myths in advertising that we just kind of want to touch on, because many people we've run or met over the years and everything, they don't have advertising agencies or consultants to basically help them as far as with their advertising. One of the myths that we hear is we are #1 with your customers, so we can charge more for our media. When we go into a particular market, what we run into is that in many cases you'll have one particular station that may have twice the audience of any other station in the market. And so they decide, well, we can charge more for that because we have more audience. When in actuality, if you took 2 or 3 or 4 stations and put them together, you might end up reaching more people than that one station with even less money. So you have to be real careful when people are talking about, that we're number one with your customer. I remember back when I first started selling radio, and that was back in the late 70s and early 80s, and I used to hear that all the time, we're number one as far as in the market. Well, what I discovered was every station is number one sometime, somewhere throughout the week in any particular market. So you have to be real careful as far as what people are actually saying. One of the things that really is a myth in advertising is that we can guarantee results. There are no guarantees in advertising. It's always a rolling of the dice. So we use ways of basically doing good guesstimates as far as where our audiences are in order to be able to get the best bang for our buck and reach the most people we possibly can with the least amount of money and as many times as we possibly can. But we can't guarantee results. We can guarantee that it's placed right, of course, if it comes through Newell Ledbetter Advertising. However, the salespeople that talk to us, they can't guarantee results. They would like to say they can, but they really can't. Another myth is that radio is cheaper than television. And the reason that people take a look at that and they say radio is cheaper than television is because of the cost of the radio commercials. Radio commercials are a lot less expensive than television as far as the actual cost per commercial in most cases. However, when you take a look at what the percentage of the market is that it reaches and the cost per percentage point, television is by far, in every market that we're in throughout the United States, if you can buy television, you can buy the best cost per point in any market. Cable has more viewers than regular television. This is something we hear a lot of. Cable has got a good propaganda message going out there. They garner more than 50% of prime time television watching. And you know something? That may be true. That may be true. But you've got to figure that 50% is divided up among 200, 300 stations. So when you get into a situation like my buddy Bill O'Reilly says, that I'm the #1 cable news channel in America, that may be the truth. I don't know for sure. I haven't really checked into if that's an actual fact or not. However, I do know that the size of the audience that Bill garners is less than 1% in any particular demographic. I don't care what demographic it is. And if I go into another news program as far as local news in your particular area, I can pretty much guarantee that you will have somewhere between 6 to as high as 12% of the audience, of your target audience, watching that particular news program. So you have to be real careful as far as when people say cable has more viewers than regular television. The size of the audience with cable is really, really small compared to the size of the audience with radio and or television. However, cable works very well in certain markets, depending, again, on the size of the particular market because of the costs involved. And when we mix radio and cable, and in some cases when we have a penetration of cable approaching 70%, we can get almost the same coverage with cable as we can with regular television. But the cost is still going to be a little bit more than what it would normally be if you were to buy regular television in a comparatively same size market. One of the myths that we find is television is too expensive. Well, not actually. What people are really seeing is what the cost of last year's Super Bowl commercial was. And last year's Super Bowl commercial was averaging $3.5 million for a 30-second commercial. When I first started selling advertising for television, the ABC affiliate in Colorado Springs, Colorado, we were carrying the Super Bowl. And at that time, those Super Bowl commercials were running $1,500. That was a few years ago, about 25 years ago. Now they're running, in my market, they're running around $7,500. That's kind of expensive as far as a Super Bowl spot is concerned. However, not everybody needs a Super Bowl spot or wants to air their commercials in the Super Bowl. It's a huge audience, but if I take $7,500 in the Colorado Springs market and I'm going to reach 43% of my market, or even higher than that in some cases, if the Broncos are playing the Super Bowl, we're going to be close to 65 to 70% as far as viewership is concerned, but they're going to see my commercial one time. if I have $7,500 and I'm going to spend it as far as a marketing campaign, I can actually put a marketing campaign together in Colorado Springs for a 3-month campaign that I'll reach somewhere around 80 to 85% of my target market, many more times than one time. We're probably looking at somewhere around 5 or 6 times. So you've got to be looking, you got to take a look at television if you can do television marketing, because it isn't that expensive in comparison to other mediums. There are magic words that cause people to act. There's only one magic word that I've run into in over 30 years of advertising that will cause people to act, and that word is called free. And if they hear about free and they want your service, they will come in droves. Example being dentistry with a heart or dentistry with a smile. Anytime that my clients have given away dentistry as far as a promotion is concerned and helped an awful lot of people, we can have anywhere from 100 to 300 people lined up at the door to get that free dentistry. But if we run a commercial saying basically they're going to get $49.95 whitening or $99.99 exam and cleaning, people don't line up at the door. So there are no magic words that cause people to act except for one word, and that's called free. One of the things that came out many, many years ago was a myth as far as subliminal advertising works. There was a Coca-Cola ran a commercial while they were advertising popcorn at a drive-in theater, and they flashed Coke up periodically through advertising the popcorn, and they saw an increase as far as sales in Coca-Cola in doing that subliminal type of advertising, because the advertising only stayed up for a very, very short period of time. I can't recall the number of frames, but basically you didn't see it, okay? Your mind saw it, but you didn't see it on a conscious level. Well, what they found out was, what the advertisers found out was that subliminal advertising, they had twisted the results on that particular type of advertising to where it showed that it had an increase as far as sales. And of course, in doing that, then the government came in and passed laws saying you couldn't do subliminal advertising, when in fact what they found out is subliminal advertising doesn't work. Good idea, but it just doesn't work. Tracking your new patients, this is a biggie, okay? This is something that we work on all the time as far as how our marketing plans are actually working. You know, one of the things that a lot of my clients, not only my dentists, but my lawyers, my schools, one of the ways they like to track where their new patients and new clients come from. It gives a validity as far as the advertising dollars that they're spending, and I totally understand that. But the way they're tracking it is basically asking their patients or their new clients, you know, where they came from. How did they come about finding that particular business? And unfortunately, new patients or people don't know that. They don't know the answer to that question. I'll give you an example, and this happened to me years ago, back when I was just selling radio. I was talking with a audiophile, very high-end audiophile client that spent a lot of money with the rock and roll radio station that I was selling at that time, and we were talking about his upcoming advertising campaign, and a customer came into his store, and of course he had to go to wait on the customer, and I just sat and listened to what they were conversing about. And after he finished doing his business, he thanked the customer for his business. And as the customer was going out the door, he asked the customer how he came to hear about CNS Audio. And the customer says, well, I saw your television commercial on Good Morning America. And my client basically thanked the customer and came back into the office where I was sitting. And I said, I didn't know that you were advertising on Good Morning America. I didn't know you were doing television. He said, no, actually, I'm not. He says, I don't do any advertising except the radio advertising that I do with you. Well, what we figured out was that the television set was probably on that morning, and they heard a commercial on the radio station, and they associated that with that commercial they heard on the radio station with a television commercial, when in actuality he had never even advertised on television. I've had several clients that had been doing radio advertising before they met with me, and we started doing television advertising. And 6 months after they've been in the television advertising, they asked, the client, well, how did you come by us? And the patient said, well, basically, I heard your radio commercial, and they hadn't been on the radio for over 6 months. So you've got to be real careful. And the problem, there's not really a problem with asking that question and finding out what someone might say. It's when you take those answers and you apply them to your marketing campaign and change your marketing campaign depending on how people tell you about how they came to your business. There is a program that I ran into surfing through television one afternoon. It was a rainy day in Colorado Springs last summer. Not very often do we get rain. Sitting watching television, I was just flipping through it, and I ran into a Dateline program. And I started watching it because it dealt with the human memory. And I'm very interested in that because the human memory, as far as asking patients and tracking customers, has been a contention over the period of the last several years, trying to figure out where these patients came from. Well, there is a program that I would recommend that you can go on YouTube, basically, and type in, "Did you see that?" Dateline, and it comes up as a 4-part series. And if you've got some time, I think you'd find it very, very interesting to find out how people's minds actually work in their memory. What we like to do is really focus in on our new patient counts or our new client counts. Focus in on those. That's the bottom line. Tracking the increases, tracking the decreases, that tells us what's going on as far as your marketing plans are concerned. This is a tracking form that we use with our dentists. And this is just basically a new patient tracking form. You can see that we started doing this in 2007. Actually, the doctor we were working with was doing it in 2007. I basically asked them for the last 4 years, or actually 2 years, because we started working with them in March of 2009. I wanted to see a comparison of what's going on so I can see whether the advertising or the marketing is actually working. So we started working with this particular dentist in March of 2009. And you can see that we had a nice increase as far as over the previous year, but we were still down from the year before that. The whole goal in this was to double the client's new patient counts. That's the whole goal, and we were figuring that's basically going to take about 2 years was what we were kind of guesstimating on that. That was the goal anyway, to double that. And you can see how that's happened. Okay, in 2009, the total new patients that this particular doctor had was 232. He was averaging 19 new patients on a monthly basis. So he was doing 15 new patients on a monthly basis the year prior to that. So what's the difference? Well, we increased his new patient count, or he increased his new patient count by 30% from 2009 to 2010, or excuse me, 2008 to 2009. That's a really nice increase. So that's basically about 4 new patients a month. So that's 48 new patients that he received that came through the marketing that he had implemented within his practice. The next year, 2010, we went up to 23.5 new patients on a monthly basis, or 282 for the entire year. So we had another nice increase, a 25% increase. So in 2 years, we had a 55% increase as far as our new patient counts. We're still not quite double. In 2011, you can see that we only went up basically about 5%. We went up basically 1 new patient a month is what we went up as far as the average is concerned. So that wasn't a huge increase. So we're going, well, what's going on here? Well, if we take a look at this, had anything changed in his office? No, nothing had changed in his office. Well, at this time when we first started doing advertising, we were reaching 38% of this target audience. So what this started to tell us was that if nothing had changed in his office, that we probably maxed out as far as the number of new patients we were going to be seeing on a monthly basis using that particular medium. So we were at 35% reach, and we're somewhere around a 10-time frequency. So we were doing pretty good with that. Well, in 2012, what we've started to do is we increased the reach. It's what we've done is we added television to the particular media marketing. And in adding television, it just started as far as in March. We'll see what happens as far as if the way we look at it, if we double the number of people we're reaching, we should double our results. It's going to take a period of time because it doesn't happen overnight. I know many of us, like myself, would love to have had 45 clients the day I started my business, but I'd have been dead within about a week and a half. So this is a very reasonable growth. It's a growth that we can work with, and actually the business or the dentist can actually grow his practice in a comfortable manner. And of course, you can see it going from 15 new patients a month when we first, back in 2008, now to 24 new patients a month. Obviously something is working, and we want to continue to work with that. So what's going to be real interesting, again, is doubling his reach. Let's see if we can double his new patient flow. What we would like to do now is basically, there's a saying, Leo Burnett, he's in the advertising business. He's one of the big dogs in the advertising business nationwide. And he says, advertising says to people, and this is exactly what we tell our dental clients, is here's what we've got, here's what it'll do for you, and here's how to get it. I basically have said, this is who I am, this is what I do, would you like to do business with me? And that has to do a lot with as far as the service industry. You're not selling a widget, you're selling a service. That pretty much wraps up as far as the awareness part of the campaign in Awareness 201 as far as dental marketing is concerned. I'm going to turn this over to Art Ruiz. Art has been with ReachLocal for a little over 4 years. And again, I had mentioned this last time, here about 2.5, 3 years ago, we started interviewing all of the internet people that we had met and had called our office. As a matter of fact, everybody that called our office got an appointment because we wanted to find out where the smoke and mirrors were and who actually knew their stuff. Well, I happened to have the fortunate opportunity of running into Art because he knows his stuff. And he's a straight shooter. And he partners a lot with Mike Paxson of Q2 Interactive, who had a family emergency this evening and wasn't able to make it with us. So he's going to help out as far as giving information as far as Q2 and how search engine optimization helps as far as your overall dental practice is concerned. He's also going to go through some of the myths involving the internet and websites and how to track your web activity and how all that works in together. You know, this is a whole strategy situation that we're working with as far as doing the awareness campaign and getting into the research and decision. It's all a strategy of working together with ReachLocal on a pay-per-click basis and working together with Q2 Interactive on the search engine optimization. And, of course, the awareness side that we can put together with television and radio or broadcast advertising. So, Art, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you roll.
Thanks, Newell. So just a quick recap of what we did last time. We talked about the three-pronged approach to online marketing. And when we talk about online marketing, it really is a strategy-based approach, a data-driven strategy. Notice when Newell was talking, he didn't say that you need to get one radio station or one cable station and really hammer it. It's about the strategy. It's about blending the different buys together, integrating that approach so that it makes sense for your ideal demographic. The online piece is no different. Part of what we need to look at is, one, the search engine optimization piece, SEO, the search engine marketing component, which is advertising on Google, Yahoo, Bing, as well as now the social, the SMM, or social media marketing. So the three-pronged approach we're going to be talking about and going back to over and over again. So when we talk about demographic, targeting your ideal demographic, reaching your ideal target demographic online. So for example, if we want to reach women between the ages of 35 and 55, there's a couple things here we need to think about. Search engine marketing, we really can't tell Google, okay, Google, figure out if this is a woman that we're targeting and figure out if she is between the ages of 35 and 55. There is no way to target that. Neither with remarketing nor live chat, but we can with Facebook. So what we're going to talk about is how we can best target that ideal demographic, how we can be in front of the right people at the right time with the right message, and how all that ties in together. So when we think about search engine marketing, we think about Google. And really, Google still represents about 70% of all the online activity online. So right here, there is no way for us to say, okay, Google, I want to only target women. So when people are searching, if they're not a woman, forget about them. And if they're not 35 to 55, ignore them. We can't do that. So when we talk about strategy, we think, how can we best engage your prospective market? So when Newell and his team are creating the awareness in the marketplace, they're letting people know that this dental practice is here, right? Here's what we got. Here's what we can offer. Here's where you get it. It's no different on Google. What we're trying to do is basically say, okay, we're going to capture every single person and get in front of them that is looking for a dental practice, a cosmetic dental practice, an orthodontist, a perio, whatever the case may be. And that's where really fine-tuning the messaging, fine-tuning the keywords that drive the right kind of traffic is going to make all the sense in the world. When we talk about remarketing, think about this. One of the hardest things we do is get people to our site. Think about the dollars you spend creating that awareness on TV or radio, or even that you spend online in front of Google. One of the toughest things we can do is get them to engage. So the average engagement online, as you're going to see later, is about 3 to 4%. That's the average conversion ratio that most websites have online when you're doing marketing. Well, think about this. What if there was a way to re-engage people back to your site after they've left? And now we're talking about reach and frequency again. We have the ability, there is actually technology available where we can actually follow someone online, figure out where they've been, where they're going, and actually display your message directly to them. We call that just the remarketing strategy. So someone goes to your site, and later on in the day, they go to CNN. Well, remember, we're not actually doing a direct buy online with CNN or on ESPN. We just have the ability to follow them everywhere they go. Having access to over 90% of all online property really does give you an advantage. It's kind of like the strategy approach we talked about with Newell. If you can best blend your messages together on the different stations, you're going to get a much higher significant return on investment. Same thing here with remarketing. If we can follow somebody and show your ad on CNN and then later on ESPN, what better way to re-engage them back to your brand, get them back down the buying funnel, and put them in front of you once again? Live chat. What we know is, as over the last 3 years, people have engaged differently online, and they continue to engage differently. Having a live chat or the ability to converse with someone in real time represents about 16 to 17% of the market right now. So think about this. If someone happened to see the TV commercial earlier in the day or listen to the radio station and heard about your practice, and they're at work, and they start to do some searches, maybe they don't want to make a phone call and really reach out to your practice at that time. They may want to converse with the chat. And we're seeing that chat widget really does extend across all demographic profiles. So including women, men also engage in the chat, and it's been very, very successful. So having the ability to reach someone, again, when they want, the way they want to, is very powerful. So the strategy approach with search engine marketing is get in front of them and be in front of them with the right message when they are ready to engage. The remarketing is get back in front of those people, help them with that buying decision. It may not be immediate. It may be a week later, 2 weeks later, but any way we can get them back down the buying funnel is critical, as well as the chat. So now we have a third way to engage with the prospective market. So what can we do to really isolate and target women between the ages of 35 and 55? Well, one of the best kept secrets online still is Facebook marketing, Facebook advertising. Because think about this. What does Facebook have that everybody wants? They have your information. They have the consumer's information. So they know that you're a woman. They know based on the information you put in if you are between the ages of 35 and 55. They know if you're married, single. They know if you have kids. And so really, Facebook has been a very powerful medium. Because think about this. When do people typically engage the most with Facebook? After hours, after business hours. When they're home, the kids are asleep. I know for a fact my wife goes online and spends maybe 45 minutes a night on Facebook chatting with her friends, catching up. Well, what better way to target your ideal demographic than by getting in front of who you want when you want? Think about this. Facebook has been just immensely powerful, and people think about it, well, is it really that powerful? It's just a waste of time. Well, think about this. Where else can you 100% target, laser-focused targeting your ideal prospects? Facebook has been a phenomenal strategy for a lot of our dental and medical practices and continues to be one of the best-kept secrets online. So as far as online marketing myths, let's talk about a couple of the most common. One of the ones I hear a lot is, it's impossible to track which patients come from my online marketing efforts. Well, that statement still can be true. Depends on who you're using for your online marketing. A lot of folks still base their marketing models for online based on number of visits, number of hits, and really that's it. One of the things that people need to realize is visibility online has increased. So not only do you have the ability to listen to every single phone call that is being tracked from your marketing dollars, you can actually see which keywords are being searched for. So as far as the ability to quantify your online marketing, you should be able to see this. And if you don't, maybe you're not using the right vendor to do your online marketing for it, because part of what ReachLocal does, and I think Newell had mentioned, we have run over 18,000 campaigns for the dental industry. What's interesting about that is we get a lot of good data, so we can truly put together a data-driven strategy. And one of the things that people are amazed of is, wow, you can actually track that. Well, the fact of the matter is we've been able to track that for about 7 years, and so have most companies. Most online marketing companies choose not to track that kind of data because they don't have, one, the ability to, two, they choose not to because they don't want to show you what the actual return on investment is online, and three, they have no idea what you're talking about because they have no idea that technology exists. So as you can see here, part of what you have access to is complete visibility. How many impressions you've received, how many remarketing impressions you received, how many visits for the dollar spent did you get, number of phone calls, who called, when they called, listen to the phone call. And again, part of the third webinar that we're going to be talking about is how to really train your staff and engage your staff to convert the sale. Well, guess what? This is a tremendous tool because if you can listen to every single call that we have generated for you with your advertising dollars, what better way to truly make that a case study for your office and learn what's being said, how it's being said, how your potential customers are being engaged. It's very, very powerful when it's used correctly, and yes, it is available. Second myth, Facebook isn't a marketing tool. It's an excuse to waste time online. That part is true. Yes, you can waste time online. I know that between appointments I'm checking Facebook as well, but here's something you may not have thought about. I did an analysis, and on Facebook.com, you can actually go on and take a look at this yourself. In Colorado Springs, I was curious, how many women are in Colorado Springs between the ages of 35 and 55? 99,080. So let's just round that up. 100,000 people fit within your ideal demographic. So talk about powerful. Now, one thing that we don't see here, with Facebook, you can granularly target. So in other words, you can literally draw a 10-mile radius around your office and develop a strategy based on that. So now, if you were to really focus on 10 miles around your office, now we might be looking at about 40,000, maybe 30,000 potential women between the ages of 35 and 55. But again, what better way to get in front of that demographic with your message? Think about this. When people are online, 1 out of every 8 minutes spent online is on Facebook. Now, there's a lot of stats out there, but I tell you, I truly believe that's true with Facebook, because Facebook is a blend between a phone call, an email, a letter in the mail, a postcard, and really a YouTube video. Because think about this. You're engaging people when they're at home. You're engaging people on their free time. So that's what makes Facebook so powerful, is they're allowing you into their home. It's basically permission-based marketing at its best. Where else can you ask for permission to engage with someone over and over again? They become a fan or like your business page. Now you're speaking directly to that person over and over again. What kind of power is that? Think about how often you send out postcards to remind your customers about different events for your office, or, hey, happy birthday, et cetera, et cetera. Well, how powerful is that when you think about you are now in front of your ideal target audience? You're in front of your current patients. It's very, very powerful. 11 hours per month is spent on Facebook with the average person. Again, I truly believe that. But more importantly, over 50% of consumers who follow a business online are more likely to buy from that business in the future. One of the best things we can do is build our referral base. And I can't tell you how many dental practices I've walked into have a sign over the entrance or down the hall that says, the greatest compliment that you can pay us is referring your friends and family. Well, think about this. What better way to refer your friends and family than online? How many times have you received a personal invitation from one of your friends in Facebook and you engaged with them? How often do you see in the upper right-hand corner when you're online on Facebook that says, Susie likes ABC Dental? Well, that happens all the time. Those conversations are not unique. And so the better way you can harness Facebook to work for you and with you will definitely have a greater impact on your overall results. And really, it's a low entry point with a high return. And that's why earlier I said Facebook is literally one of the best kept secrets in the online marketing world, because people don't understand how do you make Facebook work for a small local business. And my point is, you can make it work very well, right? Third myth, marketing online gets me the type of patients I really don't want. Well, that's not true. A couple assumptions we can make, and then let's back that up with data. The Pew Internet Research Group does a lot of stuff online, and they're pretty accurate with their reporting. So think about this. Users between the ages of 30 and 49, 87% of them use the Internet. So if you're trying to reach someone between the age bracket of 30 and 49, 9 out of 10 of those folks use the Internet. So again, that makes sense. 50 to age 64, 74% of those folks use the Internet. Again, okay, common sense, sure. No real silver bullet yet. But think about this. People with a financial demographic of 50,000 to 75,000 income per household, 90% of those folks that have that income range use the Internet. So again, do you really not want to target folks with incomes between $50,000 and $75,000? 9 out of 10 of them use the Internet on a regular basis. What about this one? Households that have $75,000 or more in annual income, 97% of them use the Internet. Now, what's interesting is I looked at the rest of the data, and when you go from 35 to 50, from 20 to 35, it really slopes down. That trend just continues. So as far as targeting your ideal demographics, if you can target women between the ages of 35 and 55, or the earlier example that Newell gave, 35 to 64, why wouldn't you want to target the 50K plus and the 75K plus? Because most of those women are online as well. And one of the things we're going to talk about a little bit later is the power of combining your traditional media with the online media and the kind of results you get. Think about this. People who have 4-year college degrees or more, 94% of those people use the Internet. So the more educated you are, the more likely you are to engage online. Again, I truly believe that data is true, and when we start to think about it from that perspective, it makes a lot of sense that you can get the right kind of customer. A lot of folks just don't know quite how to do that. And a lot of folks that are marketing, a lot of dental practices that are marketing online are taking a shotgun approach. They're like, well, let me try a little of this, a little bit of that. There is no focus. There is no defined market. There is no defined strategy. Again, we go back to that strategy, right? Fourth myth, it's not cost-effective to market my dental practice online. Again, there's some truth to that. Because if you're trying to be everywhere and be everything to everybody, you're not going to reach the right people that you're looking for. So again, strategy, strategy, strategy. There is no single silver bullet with any kind of marketing, whether it's TV or radio or the internet. It's the strategy approach, the better job you can do of figuring out who your market is, how you can reach your market, and what message to put in front of that market, you're going to have success. So earlier, when I talked about the average online marketing campaign, if you go on Google and you start buying their AdWords program, the average conversion ratio is about 3 to 4%. Well, how can that be? Well, think about this. The average person is going to think about 10 to 20 different keywords that they think people engage with. What they don't realize, what they don't know, is that the average consumer doesn't search in simple terms. They don't search dentist. They don't search dental. They are called long-tailed keywords. So now they're looking for dentist in Briargate, dentist in Colorado Springs. They're more defined with what they're looking for because people have figured out the better information they can type into Google, the better results they're going to get. And so the average business owner is going to say, well, if I just go after the popular keywords like dentist and dental, et cetera, I'm going to yield a strong return on investment. That's not the case. Average conversion ratio is about 3 to 4%. One of the things that we have learned in running over 18,000 dental campaigns as a company for ReachLocal is our average online conversion ratio for dentists is about 12%. That's average. So take an average-looking website, take an average-looking message, average dollar spend, and you're about 12%. That's still about 4 times what you can do on your own. But here is the kicker. What happens when you mix broadcast media and online marketing together? And again, we're talking about the exact same dollar spend. Online, you don't have to spend another dollar online because if you do it right the first time, you're maximizing your reach to that market. One of the things we've been able to do with Newell and his team is we know that when we run online marketing campaigns in conjunction with broadcast media, TV and radio, the conversion ratios are in excess of 20+%. Now, that's phenomenal. Why is that? Well, when someone is going online and they start doing research and searching for a dental practice, now they have familiarity, right? And like Newell said earlier, they may not be able to recall if they saw you in the newspaper or TV. And again, half the time they may say, yeah, I loved your TV commercial on NBC. Well, if you're doing radio in your market primarily, how is that possible? It's just that familiarity. And so what happens is when people are going online, they may not understand why ABC Dental sounds so familiar, but we have seen time and time again where that layered strategy approach really, truly does impact the return on investment a practice receives online for the exact same dollar amount. And that's why working with Newell and his team has been just amazing because the results we're able to deliver for the same dollar amount literally is almost double, and in some cases almost triple based on the market size and the reach and the demographic. So what we're going to talk about now is the website part of this, and how does the website component really factor into all of this. Last time we talked about key conversion elements, and really design your website with your target audience in mind. I know it sounds so simple, but you'd be surprised how many people do not design a website to their ideal target audience. So think about this. The design and engagement level is so critical. If you see the before and after photos here, the average consumer will give any business, I don't care if you're a dentist, an attorney, you get 7 seconds and that's it. 7 seconds for a consumer to say yay or nay on your business and really make a lot of assumptions about your practice, the way you run your practice, and not really give any consideration to who you are. So that's why the right design with the right message. Here we have an example of an allergy clinic. So when you think of allergy and asthma, what do you think of? You think of outside, you think of grass, pollen. Well, does this message really speak to the demographic you're trying to reach? Absolutely. Call to action. Call today. Believe it or not, and I agree with Newell, the magic word is free. However, if we can have a call to action, that will help trigger some engagement response, and having a call to action in the upper right-hand corner of your website will help to increase that. Easy navigation. People are lazy. Even though we have all this technology, people have less time than ever to do things. And you think about Facebook or cell phones and how easy it is to access information. Are we not getting more and more impatient with that information? So we need to design a site that's easy to navigate, easy to find what we're looking for. Again, phone number in the upper right-hand corner. Believe it or not, we have case studies where if a person has a great site, it's designed well, has all the conversion elements, by putting their phone number in the upper right-hand corner, that will immediately increase conversions between 15 and 20% within a couple days because people can now see the number with that call to action. Again, having a form on there as well as having that online chat. So if you think about this, how many different ways do we have for people to engage? We have the phone number, we have a form, we have a chat, and you probably have an email submission button on there as well. We're giving people essentially 4 different ways to engage with your practice from that single site. So when we talk about important website metrics to monitor and optimize, there's a few things we need to think about. Time on site is one of them. Depending on how long your buying cycle is, and again, whether you're a sedation dentist, whether you're an orthodontist, you focus on implants, cosmetic dentistry, every single procedure, every single type of client you want has a different buying structure, a different time frame. So the time on site is really important because that gives us an idea. Are they researching? Are you giving them way too much information so that they're researching, educating themselves on your site, and then leaving to another site to engage with someone else? The number of pages navigated through. We need to make sure that the right amount of information is being given because, believe it or not, you can overeducate someone to the point where they say, okay, that's what I was thinking of. Let me see who else in my market is doing that. There is that fine line and balance between education and engagement. And when in doubt, we always lean on the engagement piece. Bounce rate. A good bounce rate is about 50%, believe it or not, because half of the consumers who come to your site find you relevant. The other half, there's different reasons why they choose not to engage. But if your bounce rate is upwards of 50%, we have an engagement problem. We have to look at what's going on. And again, it might come down to the design of your site, the flow, the way the content is laid out, the call to actions, etc. Form submission conversions. Believe it or not, you can actually, with Google and Google Analytics, track how many people are actually submitting your forms and what keyword came in from, what keyword caused that form to come in. Pretty simple to do, but again, understanding what those trigger words are will help you increase your return on investment for your campaign. Keyword relevancy and density. Believe it or not, again, the more generic, the more general a keyword phrase is, the less likely are people to engage. And that's why we truly encourage our customers to develop good content that is engaging, that is just enough information to want people to engage, but not to overeducate and leave. We also have to be concerned with density. How many keywords are on your page? Does that help with search engine optimization? Are you going to be able to create new entry points into your website? The last one is entry points into your website. No longer do people go in through the front page of your site. Believe it or not, up to 40% of all web searches will help people come in through other pages. That's part of Google's algorithm. So by understanding that your front page is not the only way into your site, and understanding that if you have 10 different pages on your site, you have 10 different opportunities to have entry points into your website. So we need to analyze each one of those pages and make sure that one, again, time on site, bounce rate, submissions, all that stuff is in line. Website marketing myths. Let's go over a couple. If I build a website, they will come. You know, that was true about 10 years ago. All you had to do was really just show up to the online game and you would win. Times have changed. Now it's a strategy approach, because just because you build a website, that's awesome. However, I guarantee you 60 to 70% of the other dentists in town already have some type of website. So now it's the strategy approach. It's the search engine optimization, the search engine marketing, the social component. All those things really do factor in. Another myth is, well, I spent $20,000 on my website, I should be getting the most leads. There is not a direct correlation between the amount you spend online, the amount of money you spend on a website and its conversion capabilities. A lot of that has to do with the design, the flow. all of those things we talked about on the last slide factor into that. Price has nothing to do with it. The third myth is very important. Well, the structure of a website doesn't matter. If I get a nice image and basically make it into a website, wouldn't that be enough? No, because think about this. You're not only building a website for the consumer, you're building it for the search engines. By giving the right kind of structure to your site allows Google, Yahoo, and Bing to evaluate your site and determine really how relevant you are in the marketplace. Based on how the structure of your site is built, that has a lot to do with your ability to rank higher organically. Myth number 4, people don't read blogs, I don't need one. Well, people may not go to your website and say, wow, I just want to see what they're writing about. But search engines do. Part of the new algorithm with Google is seeing how frequently you publish online. And one of the things that we need to realize is there's a fine line between marketing to Google and marketing to the consumer. In my opinion, we need to do 50-50. We need to create and develop content that's search engine friendly, as well as visually friendly and appealing to the consumer. If you can have that balance 50-50, you're definitely going to win online. Myth number 5, and this is one of the most important myths. The first page of Google is overrated. Well, we know from research that 80%, on what you see, maybe 85% of all transactions happen on the first page of Google. There's only one page. As you go to page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, the engagement rate just drops dramatically. So literally, if you're the first person up top, you may be able to get about 32% of all opportunities coming on that first page of Google. What's interesting is the second listing will typically get about 17%. Then you go to the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th listing on the first page, it literally goes down to about 3 or 4%. So really, there is something to be said about being on the first page of Google. And again, it's a strategy approach. There is no single way, there is no single approach to get up top on Google without having the right kind of support, having the right kind of website, having the right kind of structure, having the right kind of messaging, having the right kind of keywords to get you on the front page is very critical. Thank you so much. Zach, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Art, and thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. That concludes our webinar. We received a lot of good feedback from everyone. And if you guys have any questions, please give us a call, or you can 719-635-9988, or you can email us at webinar@nlamedia.com. So we'll be hosting a dental marketing webinar 301. That date is still waiting to be confirmed, but you guys will all get invites to that as well. And this webinar is recorded and will be available on our website at nlamedia.com/webinar. So thank you again for joining us, and have a very nice evening.